Today is Tuesday, March 25th, 2014, and my name is Campbell. I am interviewing Claudia Mancia for the pre-preparatory Dallas Community Oral History Project in the high school conference room. So, do you want to say hi to our audience?
Hello, my name is Claudia Mancia, and I work at Peak Uplift and preparatory school, and I've been here for going on my 4th year.
Okay. So, when and where were you born?
I was born in October the 13th, 1970 in El Salvador, that's in Central America, and that's where I was born. I came to the United States.
Okay. How was it over there when you were in Central America?
When I lived down there, I was down there till I was 9 years old, and there was war in that country. And that's when my parents decided to immigrate to the United States because the war was starting at that country. They didn't want us to go through that,
Were any of your family members connected into the war?
No, not that I know of, no.
Okay. So, where did you grow up through high school since you moved here?
When we moved to the United States, we came to California, to Los Angeles, and that's where I went to elementary school and also did my freshman and sophomore year of high school. And I lived from 1980 to 1986 in California.
Oh, so what things did you like to do in California?
Well, I was kind of young down there, and it's a different pace of living, different from the Texas life, But I mean, it was my elementary school, and it was kind of different for me because when I moved to this country, I didn't speak no English, and back then, they didn't have bilingual classes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it was kind of hard for me because coming from a country that you only spoke Spanish and coming to the United States and the city that I lived in, they didn't have bilingual people, so I lived with the dictionary in my hand when I went to school because the school was nothing but English. I didn't have no Spanish classes at all. So I had to always be with the dictionary, and that's how I guess I learned my English.
Oh, so was it, how would you normally conduct like a conversation with a teacher since you couldn't speak English?
It was hard. It was real hard. Believe me, it was real hard. And I mean, I did have like during the day, maybe 30 minutes that I remember I had a Puerto Rican teacher who would teach me, English and Spanish. But then, really, to be honest, I don't know how I did it. Because, I mean, living in a place where there was no Spanish speaking and all my teachers were white,
Yeah.
and it was hard. But then I guess I learned. And like I said, dictionary was my best friend.
Yeah. Well, what in that environment, were there any other immigrants like you who...
Yeah, there were. We were a lot of us. And, it was kind of hard back then, because like I said, they didn't have bilingual classes like they have nowadays.
Yeah.
And, I remember having my Hispanic friends, but that was only like a recess and in the cafeteria that we were allowed to speak to each other. But during the classes, it was nothing but English. So we did have a hard time trying to learn that language.
Okay. So what did you do after high school?
After high school, I started going to college. Like I said, we moved to Dallas. I graduated from Woodrow Wilson here in 1988. And I started going to Mountain View College because I wanted to become a teacher. So I did that. But then I met my husband. We started dating my husband and got married and stopped going to school, started working. So that's what I did. And then my kids came along. I have 2 kids, and I was working in the medical field for a long time. Then I had a chance to move into the education, and I was working for Dallas ISD as a teacher assistant. And then I got laid off 4 years ago, and I applied to work for Uplift, and I started working here ever since.
Okay, so how was it back then in the medical field? What kind of experiences did you go through?
I started working as a receptionist, and I never went to a school for medical assistant, But for the doctor that I used to work for, he was a surgeon and he taught me everything. So I was his medical assistant and we used to do surgeries together. We did a lot of stuff, that he taught me, I guess, hands-on to feel like they call it. So I didn't have the certificate, but I did that for like 8 years of my life.
Okay.
The only thing that I didn't like was that I worked so many hours. It was like sometimes from 8 to 8. And I didn't have enough time to spend with my kids. So that's why I decided to change from medical field. Then I had a chance to go into the, school business.
So how do you think it affected your kids from being here in the United States instead of in your hometown?
I think it's different because, like, I have gone back to my country, and it's most likely the way people live down there, it's poor, and even though they work as hard as they work, they don't get enough money. I really don't know how they survived because it's a small little country where I come from, and I see how the kids, they go to school, but there's not enough jobs. And the only difference here is that here in the United States, your school, it's free. Over there, you have to pay for school, okay? And you can graduate and you can have a career, but there's not enough jobs. So people goes to school, they have careers, they become lawyers, doctors, whatever, but they cannot work as doing that because there's not enough money or, careers that they can work as. That's why they end up working in restaurants and things like that because it's a small country. And here in the United States, you have a chance. Once you go to college, it might be sometimes you have to pay out of pocket a little bit more money, but there's always good jobs that, especially if you have your college, your degrees and all that, you can always be whomever you want to be here in the United States.
Okay. So, would you consider it dangerous to move back to your hometown?
The war stopped about, I would say, 15 years ago, okay? So it's a free country now. But now, there's another big problem. It's the gangs. There's a lot of gangs now, and it's real dangerous now. Because now it has gotten to the point that you have to pay to live free in that country. So let's say that if you have a small business, if you own a little restaurant, if you own a little store, whatever you own, they'll go and they'll ask you for money weekly. And if you don't give them a quota, that's how they call it, they kill you and they kill your family.
The gang members?
Yes. So nowadays it's like to live, you have to pay the gang members to take care of you. So that's how dangerous it is nowadays. So there's no war, but there's a lot of gang members, different gang members, and that's what is making the country real bad right now.
So gang members make you pay them in order to protect you from them. I see. So when you came over here to the United States, were you afraid of any change?
It was a big change. In a way, it was because my family down there, they're kind of wealthy, I would say. So when we came here, we didn't came here like an illegal alien family. We came here with the visa. We flew over here, okay? And we came with my family, and it was different because from having whatever we wanted, I went to private schools down there. I had maids in my house. My family, my grandfather is Chinese, was Chinese because he passed away. He was from China. My dad is half Chinese. Okay. So from living in a nice house with maids, having everything I wanted, and then coming to the United States where my mom didn't have anything, we came to live with my aunt. Didn't have my own house, my own room. We had to share with my cousins, and then we had to rent our own little house and start from scratch all over. Yeah, start all over again, Yeah. And then my mom, from having a nice job in her country, she had to work in a factory making clothes. She had to learn something new, while we went to school. So, it was like a big change for us, in the way we lived.
Yeah, total opposite, lifestyle.
Yeah. So, that's the way it was. It was real different. We didn't like it. At least for myself, I didn't like it. I wanted to go back.
Yeah, as a kid, why can't I have everything that I used to have? So
Right, because we left everything behind. You know, from not having a car when we first came to the United States, from having cars down there, from, like I said, learning how to help mom to wash and everything when we had maids doing that for us.
So you were, so I guess it kind of teach you also some living things that you would need to do for now. Okay. So other than your family, do you have any other family members who came down here to Dallas?
Yes, I do have some. I have from my sister, and then it was my dad and my mom. My dad passed away in California because my parents got divorced. My sister lives here. My mom lives here. And then I have aunts, that came also, that live here. And I still have some family down there in El Salvador that they live down there.
Oh, okay.
So we go, once in a blue moon, we go and visit them, But most likely they come and see us. So they have visas and they come and see us.
Does any of that have to do with the gang violence of them coming more often to see you, or is that
No,
not
they
affected?
just come because, like, on vacation. Because, they just want to come see us. Or, like, to spend Christmas and New Year's, they come and stay here for a couple of weeks and then they go back.
Oh.
But there's nobody that is in gangs or anything like that.
Okay. So, how would you describe your last night in your hometown before you came?
The last night in my hometown was sad because I left my cousins, like I said, my aunts, not knowing, because I had family here that which my dad was like, it's going to be okay. You have your aunts over there, but I didn't know them. I didn't know who I was coming to. So, and over there was like I was leaving the people that I had grew up with.
Yeah.
My aunts and cousins and my friends from school, and not knowing that, at first my parents told me that we were just coming to see if we were going to like it for at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
Just to see if we liked it and everything. But that was the excuse they gave us. Okay? And then, not knowing that, we were going to stay here. Now, I think I really appreciate that they did that for me, because, it changed my life and everything, Because I don't know how it would be if I would have stayed over there.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, I don't know if with my kids, or I don't know if I would have my kid, I go back and think, okay, well, what would have I done different, or what would have happened to me if I would have stayed down there? Who knows?
Okay. So, how did you adapt to our culture, or have you adapted at all?
I have. Like I said at the beginning, it was hard.
Yeah.
For me, because it was way different. The food, the people, the language, it was way different. Like I said, from having everything, of not having things to start all over from scratch, and then going to the school, meeting new friends, and as I grew older, and everything. So it's different. And then it's way different. And then another thing, which is funny, because when I lived in California, in the city that I lived at, it was nothing but white people. Just a few Hispanics, just a little bit of Hispanics, okay?
So
that's why I said it was nothing but white people.
So you feel like a real outsider.
Yes. And then, honestly, we only had one African-American person, like in the high school that I went to. So when I moved to Dallas, it was different, because, a lot of,
It's closer.
Yeah, the culture and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm not used to, because like I said, it was just nothing but white people.
Yeah, growing up
not
with
even
white people.
Hispanics.
No Hispanics.
No Hispanics in that town that I lived at. It was just white people. And then when I moved, it was like, okay, more Hispanics here in Dallas, more African Americans here in Dallas, and it was like, okay. So, I totally had to learn. Yeah. Even when I had my kids, I had a Mexican babysitter. Okay.
Oh.
El Salvador is not in Mexico. It's way far away from Mexico. It's in Central America. Okay? So I didn't know how to cook Mexican food. So my kids grew up with a Mexican babysitter. So she had to teach me how to cook their food, because my kids knew about that food and I didn't.
Oh.
So it's like I had to learn different cultures all over, you know.
So do you have any Salvadorian dishes that you actually like
make at home.
Yeah.
Yes, I do, and I had to learn that because my husband is also from El Salvador. It's funny how we met. He lived in California. He also came to Dallas, and we met here. And it's funny. So I had to learn because of him. But most likely, I grew up eating Asian food.
Asian food. Because of your
Because of my grandfather and my dad. So up to this day, I cook more Asian food at my house than anything else. So I learned how to make Mexican food because of my kids, because of the babysitter, and Salvadorian food because of my husband.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of weird because like people tell me, well, you're from El Salvador and you don't know how to cook their food. I'm like, no. And they're like, but why? I mean, first of all, I never had to cook it when I was little, you know.
Yeah.
Because we always had somebody that cooked it for us.
Yeah.
So and I mean, it's
like fixing it.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird, you know. It's like, but I mean, I grew up eating Asian food, Chinese food. And up to this day, that's what I cook most of the time, Chinese food.
Okay. So, moving on, what difficulties did you go through to get here to America? Would you say there were any difficulties in getting here?
Well, I mean, really, to be honest, I don't remember because I was little. And I know, not really. Because my parents because my dad used to fly and come over here to the United States all the time. So he got visas, you know. It's not like when you're an illegal alien that you have to come and use the border and all that, you know. We didn't have to do anything like that. So we just flew over here. All he had to do was, I remember us going to, you know, the embassy and they took the pictures and the passports and the visa and just flew over here. The thing was that we lost the house that we owned down there because, you know, nobody took care of it. Of course, so we lost the house and the cars. And I remember my parents selling the furniture, you know, because we had to bring some money down. So they sold the furniture and then leaving our things behind, you know. I mean, when you're little, you think of the toys and things like that.
Everything you're going to lose.
Yeah. But I mean, most likely it was just selling the furniture and the house. I remember my parents sending the monthly payments, you know, but then they just had to let it go because nobody was going to live in that house. So that's about it.
Okay, so other than ever going back to Mexico, how would you say your neighborhood now is different from the one that you lived in?
El Salvador.
El Salvador.
It's way different because when I went after the first time when I left, that I was young, and I went back, I was 18 years old when I went, and that was when my mom's dad passed away, and we went to his funeral. And I thought it was going to be the same neighborhood, the same way that I had left it.
Yeah.
When I got there, I said, well, where's such and such place? And they were like, oh, it's gone. I said, was this where I used to live? And it was like completely a total different place. It was like new houses. Everything was like different. I mean, it wasn't the same. It was surrounded by new houses and buildings and stores and everything.
Okay, so what would you say about any religious festivities here in America? Will they be different from how they were down in El Salvador, or would
way different?
Way different.
Way different. Like Christmas, you do fireworks. It's like the 1st of December. That's when Christmas starts down there. Music, all the neighbors' music, and they cook food, and it's like you celebrate from December the 1st all the way through New Year's, I would say.
Wow.
It's like every single day there's loud music and people be cooking, and you go to their house and they invite you to eat food. And then Christmas, it's like the whole street. They used to close it. That's what I remember. And everybody would dance and just have like a block party, I would say.
Yeah.
And everybody would get drunk and food and dancing and everything, you know.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't do here. Here in the United States, it's like you're with the family, you have your Christmas dinner, you know.
Yeah.
You watch TV or whatever, you're just having a good time with your family, you know. Then there's like fireworks, and it's just...
It's more jollier.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then also, like if you're Catholic, you know, you go to church in the morning also, you go to Mass. And down there, it's more like 90% it's Catholic. So that's what they do. They go to church, you know, to celebrate Jesus' birthday and all that. That's a big thing down there too. So, like for Easter, the same thing. You know, you go to church and you pray and all that, and then you celebrate. So it's way different than the way it is here. Over here, Christmas is like quiet, you know.
Quiet,
You're just with the
more
family. Yeah. New Year's the same thing, unless if you go to New York. But over there, it's like it's fun.
So would you say any of your family members have any of your family members converted to like another religion since coming to America?
No, not really.
Okay.
Everybody's still Catholic. Nobody has.
So moving back to your life and coming back here. So if you could go back, what would you change in how you felt about school or college or anything? If there's anything you could change, would you go back and change anything?
If I could go back and change, like I said, it was hard for me because I didn't speak English, and back then we didn't have bilingual classes like we do now.
Yeah.
I think that would have helped me a lot because I did struggle a lot. You know, I mean, I was in classes and kids made fun of me because I didn't speak English. And they were always laughing at me, you know, and they would always call me the illegal alien, of course. I mean, they didn't know that I wasn't illegal, but they used to call me names. Or they would tell me go back to Mexico because people assume that just because you speak Spanish, you're Mexican, you know. And they would always bug me, always. And I used to cry a lot. I used to tell my mom, why, you know, why did you bring me over here? But it was because of that, you know. And I used to say, one day I'm going to prove it to them. One day I'm going to prove them that I'm going to speak English. And I think I got that in my head. And yeah, my English is not perfect, but it's okay, I think, you know. But I mean, they used to make fun of me. And I would change that. I mean, if I could go back then, you know. But back then, they didn't have that. Like, nowadays they help the students, you know, with bilingual classes and all that. And nothing like that back then.
So back then, would the teacher help you, or would they just watch?
They try helping me, but like I said, maybe if I lived in like LA, maybe it would have been different. But I ended up living in this small little town that, like I said, it was nothing but white people. So I don't know if maybe they did have bilingual somewhere else, but I ended up living in that place, in that town, so I don't know. But yeah, and I remember also in high school, my classmates, there was one boy that he was a rich boy, and he always made fun of me, And he would tell me all the time that I was a loser, that I wasn't going to be nobody, blah, 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 you know, that I wasn't going to get through high school, and that I was going to get pregnant in high school. He would always talk nonsense. You know, there's always kids like that. And I tell him one day I'm going to prove it to you, you know. And I mean, I graduated high school. I didn't get pregnant in high school. I didn't get pregnant right away. You know, I did try to go to college. Yeah, I did 2 years of college, didn't finish college. But, you know, I mean, I had okay jobs, you know. And I done what I done. And, I mean, I think I have done okay for my life, you know. I mean, sometimes I wish I could go back, and sometimes I want to go back to college and finish, you know. But then I'm like, okay, one day. But
one day you'll do. Yeah. So, in terms of finances, how would you say that you're doing now for an average American?
Right now, I think I'm doing okay. My husband has his own business. He's a truck driver, and he has his own 18-wheelers, you know. So he does okay money. I work here at the school in the cafeteria as a cafeteria manager. So it doesn't pay as much as I wish, you know, but we always want more money. But I mean, I think we're okay, you know.
Okay.
So,
what would you say is your view on the American dream? Or are you familiar with the American dream?
Tell me about it.
The American dream is basically that you could come to America and you could work up from nothing and eventually work to where you succeed in life. Like, say someone's come to America with probably the clothes on their back or something, and they could, through hard work and determination, they can go from that state of living into a state of where they are, say, they get a job, they work through that job, they get enough money, they can get them a house instead of maybe an apartment or something, and they may be able to find family, get family, work even more, get a better job, maybe even raise, and through hard work and just sheer determination and wanting to keep going and not giving up, that you would eventually have a successful life, I would say, or a life that you felt was worth living.
I think right now, I mean, the way my husband has been doing, I think he is going through that right now, to be honest, because when I met my husband and when we got together, got married and everything, he started working hard and everything, you know. He's gone to school, he's got his license. He got to a point that he had 4 18-wheelers, you know, making good money. He has his own business now. So in a way, he keeps moving up and up and up and up. You know, we own our house. I mean, and he just keeps going up and up and up, you know, and every year making a little bit more money than what he did the year before and all that. So in a way, I would see that like the American dream, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's something that he always wished, and he was like, when we first, because we've been married for 20 years already. And I remember he kept telling me, one day, Claudia, one day, I'm going to do it. One day, you know, you're not going to work, and one day I'm going to prove you, and I'm going to do it. And I mean, he's a hardworking person, and he just keeps moving up and up and up. So
you need that motivation in order to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, going into a more of a social kind of view, how would you say a social life there is different from a social life now?
They're from El Salvador, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Back then, there was war for a while, and it stopped. And then there was freedom, okay? And you had the freedom, and you could do whatever you want, and you could go out, let's say, to dance, to party out. You had the freedom to do whatever you pleased.
Anything that you wanted.
Yeah, everything that you wanted to do. Nowadays, you do have some freedom, but you have to be real careful with the gangs. Like I said, back to the gangs, you know. I mean, as long as you own your car, this is how they tell me. You own your car and you're driving your own car, you're okay, you know, you go to places. But if you're like walking or if you're riding public buses and all that, you have to be real careful. Because that's where they get you, you know, and they just go up to you and ask you for money. And if you don't give them no money, they beat you up and they can kill you just for $1. Because now they use the dollar money, the American money down there. So, I mean, it's different because from the beginning, like back in the 80s, you know, that's how it was, the war. Then it stopped in the 90s, and now it's that way right now again. So you can still have some fun. You just have to be careful.
Be careful.
That's the thing. And if you ever get, like my husband just went to see his family, okay? His Nike tennis shoes, he never got to wear them because the gangsters wear them.
Yeah.
So if they see you with those tennis shoes, they'll get you. The police will get you. Whether you're a gangster or not, they assume that you are because of the Nike shoes.
Because if you weren't a gangster, you probably wouldn't be wearing them.
So it all depends on the way you dress up too. You know, that's how they see you.
Yeah. So if you had actually stayed in El Salvador, how do you think your economic life will be?
Probably middle class.
Middle class?
Maybe. Middle class to upper class a little bit.
Middle class, upper class a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because, I mean, my family that I have up there, they're like a little wealthy, you know. So, I mean, I would say that.
And did you, when down here, actually, did you ever think of asking anyone up there in El Salvador for money that you may have needed?
No, not really.
Not really?
No.
Okay. Well, actually, I think that's all the time we have left.
Okay.
So it was nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you
And
too,
thank
baby,
you-
and
thank
telling
you.
you about my life.
Yes.
You learned something about Miss Mancia.
Yes, thank you. It actually helped me with my research that I was doing.
Okay, so glad. I hope that you get a good grade on it.
Yes, it will.
You can change or do whatever, but yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, that's my life, baby.
Thank you. And thank you for letting me interview you.
Oh, you're welcome, honey. Anytime.